Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast. Proud to be the world's #1 community for brilliant childcare leaders. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches and are the top-selling childcare business book authors of all time. This episode is sponsored by Arleaf Childcare Insurance. Give Blake a call at 972-232-2258 to get a free quote on childcare business insurance today. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast our hosts, Brian and Carol Dupre.
Welcome to episode 29 of the Childcare Genius Podcast.
We are your hosts, Brian and Carol Dupre.
We have an important announcement before we get started.
So we're offering a free masterclass on how to get more leverage in your childcare business.
Leverage is all about working smarter and not harder.
So we'll send a free masterclass on how to get more leverage in your childcare business. It is February 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So visit childcaregenius.com to register today. Space is limited to 100, so do it now.
If you cannot make it, register anyway because we'll send you the recording afterwards.
So the website again, childcaregenius.com. And I can promise you this masterclass will change your life. It's all about being able to do more in your business, basically working on your business instead of in it. You're going to be working smarter, not harder. And you're going to be able to get paid for hundreds of hours for 1 hour's worth of work. We're going to totally change your mindset when it comes to business. We could all use a little bit more leverage in our childcare business. So today we're going to be interviewing one of our favorite people on the planet.
This guest is a legend in the childcare industry and has forgotten more about workplace culture than I'll ever know.
So our guest on the podcast today is Sindye Alexander. Sindye has been one of my very best friends since I first met her at a conference in 2015. We have a lot in common. We both love the childcare industry. We both love helping people. And we both live in very cold climates. And we both used to work for the same company. I recently got a call from Sindye and talked for hours about Childcare Genius. She loves what we're doing and our mission.
She asked if we could use her help as we work on building our coaching business to be the best in the industry.
And it was a no-brainer. We said yes. So we're proud to present to you the new Vice President of Operations and Marketing at Childcare Genius, Sindye Alexander.
Let's get Sindye on the line.
Hi, Sindye. Welcome to the Childcare Genius Podcast. How are you doing today?
Hi, Brian. Hi, Carol. It's so great to be here today. I'm doing great.
Yeah, good to have you aboard. This is exciting.
Yes.
We haven't talked in a while. How are things?
They're good. It's been, an interesting year and a lot of irons on the fire, and things are really, really good.
Good. We're happy for you. So we're going to be interviewing you today a little bit about workplace culture. We want to catch up with you, learn a little bit more. You're one of my heroes. You're one of my very best friends. We've been friends since 2015, I believe. And we love you. We respect you, adore you. You've made such an impact in our childcare industry. And I can't believe we have waited until now to have you on the podcast. But we cannot wait to share information with you and a big announcement later in the podcast as well. So let's go ahead and get started.
So Sindye, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into the childcare business?
Well, I think my story is a lot like many. I started very, very young when, my first daughter was born. I just wanted to find a way to stay home, contribute to the family finances, and, still bring home a little bit of money to supplement what my husband was earning. And so I started in home childcare. And for so many years, I just thought that's what I was doing, was just kind of being the neighborhood mom and contributing to my family's income by watching some kids. And when mine were old enough to go to school, I thought it was time to get that real job. And so I stepped out of the home for a while, got in an office environment, and it didn't take me long to realize that I was already doing what I was meant to do. I miss the kids. I miss making that difference. I just missed the childcare, or the caring field. And so that's when I switched gears and got back into childcare. But this time I treated it like a business, like a profession. I had a preschool in my house, and I had webcams in my house, and I advertised as though I was a professional preschool in a commercial building. And I was full all the time, and I got tired of turning away calls. So then I decided to open an actual center. And then I grew that again at first I was licensed for about 36, and then I grew it to a different location, and I was licensed for 120. And I just loved making an impact in my community that way. And then I fell in love with the behind the scenes of running the business, the marketing, the creating the systems, the handbooks, the websites, the email marketing, and all of that. I fell in love with that. So I kind of took a different direction, and I started working for one of my mentors, and helped her grow her business, doing all of those behind the scenes things that I loved. And that has evolved. The last year or so, I have spent working with an excellent company called One Place Childcare, and they specialize in helping you make sure you're in compliance and setting up your policies and procedures into systems. They have an electronic software that's amazing, and then also doing some freelance behind the scenes marketing work, with email marketing and website building and automations and that type of stuff. So I have evolved, but I've stayed within the childcare industry, just making a difference in a different way.
Well, you've made a difference in our lives. We use your book today. We love it. I'm going to talk a little bit more about your book later, but just your knowledge and what you've done in the industry is just amazing. So we used to work together. We worked for the same company for quite a while. We started out as coaching clients in the same organization, and that's how we met. We were at a conference in Arizona, and I remember I just happened to sit next to you, and we struck up a conversation, and it started a close friendship, and we've been very good friends ever since. And I remember meeting you at that event. I remember meeting Jenny Vasquez at that event, who's another good friend of mine still today at that conference. And it's just funny how you remember, I could just go back to that just moment we met and started talking, and I knew you were going to be big in the industry at that point, because you just had so much knowledge, and I learned so much from you and still do today, and love that. So we worked together for a couple years, and we were equals. We were kind of equals for a while, and then for a year, I actually worked for you, and you were my boss. And when I was doing sales, and you were such a cool person to work for. You were a joy, actually, as a boss. You're probably my favorite boss I've ever had in my entire life, because you just kind of let me do my thing, and you didn't get in my way, and you realized I was very eccentric and I had a lot of goals and dreams, and you didn't push, but yet you were able to bring the best out in me, and I appreciate that.
Well, you were so good at your job, so it was easy.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, when you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And I really, really loved what I did for my last company, and it was great, and loved making a difference. And we both worked for the amazing Chris Murray. And we both, I mean, I want to speak for you, but she's had a major impact in my life, and I wouldn't be where I am today without her. And I just love her immensely.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you wanted to allude to anything either.
Yeah, no, I agree. I learned so much from her. She helped me grow my business, gave me a chance in the digital marketing and content creation world. And I had a really, really great experience working with her.
Yes. So a lot of people probably want to know how you're doing. So you were diagnosed with cancer in 2020, and I remember when you had announced to the world, and we were all kind of in shock, and a lot of tears were thrown, because that's a dangerous word for people to hear, and it's scary when you don't have it to know. Can you tell us what you've gone through, maybe, and how you're doing? People are going to want to know how you're doing.
It was like a shock, and like kind of like you get in this like little bubble of disbelief, like, oh my gosh, did this really happen? I mean, it still doesn't seem real, because it's not for me, my experience, it has not been as devastating as what you would think a diagnosis like that would be. I mean, for me, the hardest part of the whole scenario was losing my hair. They told me that the chemo treatment, I wouldn't lose my hair, it would thin. But I mean, if it thins to the point where you look like, the Mr. Potato Head, like, like you can see the little strands, coming out, and you see the scalp through it. I guess no, it's a Play-Doh, not Potato Head. But anyway, you get what I'm saying. Like that has been the emotional rocking circumstance of the whole thing, and I feel kind of shallow about saying that because I always really loved my hair. But luckily, the type of cancer that I have, while at this point it's not curable, it is treatable very, very long term. I had a couple of surgeries which removed all of the big cancer pieces out of my body, but since they had moved to different places in my body, it's kind of like a maintenance chemo. So I still have to go every other week and get a chemo treatment. So I'll probably have to do some sort of chemo for the rest of my life. But to me, it just kind of become just this routine thing that I have to do. And that maintenance chemo is to prevent the cancer from spreading, or if it does seed, to keep it really, really small. And from what they tell me, I can be on this indefinitely. And I actually have talked to people who have been on something like this for 12 years, 15 years, a long time. So I think that at this point, it's just part of my life and has become routine. So it's not this big scary thing. And I do get a little bit tired out after the chemo treatments, but I just take a lazy weekend and then I'm ready to go on Monday. So
awesome. I know that's good news to hear. And I know a lot of people have probably been thinking about you, wondering how you're doing. I know you probably, you see Facebook posts, but you're living your life now. You're not going to post every month that, hey, I'm doing okay. I'm still here.
I am a little bit private, so I don't post every little detail, to Facebook. But initially it was like a big deal, big news to me. So I did post that, but I guess I really have not been good about updating. Sorry about that, people.
Yeah. I could remember when you first did it, you put up a page, Kicking Cancer's Ass page.
Yeah.
And it sure looks like to me you're doing a pretty darn good job of that.
Well, I didn't want it to take over my life. I mean, if my scenario were different, and not everybody is as lucky as I am with a cancer diagnosis. Sometimes there is just nothing you can do. At this point, my doctors are full of hope, which gives me reason to be full of hope. And so, many people don't know this either, but I've also lived with MS, and it's so maybe that has kind of, I don't know, dulled my emotions about it. But when you kind of live with a chronic, long-term illness, it doesn't necessarily have to become like a crippling focus. I don't know. It's just something that's there. It's always there. It's not a huge deal until it becomes a huge deal. Right now, it's just routine. It's just something I have to live with. I don't know. I don't mean to be flippant about it. It's just like I have other things I'd rather be focusing on than worrying about that.
Well, good. Well, I think a lot of our listeners will be happy to know that you're doing good.
Yes.
And if you want an update on me, I'm doing great too. I have heart condition and I live with it and you deal with it. And I already have my bone condition I've had my whole life. So when another problem comes along, it's like, no big deal. You live with it. You move on. You don't dwell on it. You're not going to go on Facebook and whine about negative. I only put positive on Facebook. You don't see me complaining about everything to everybody. And it's just not what we do. And look to the positive. And that's what John Maxwell teaches us, right? To focus on the positive. And you're a Maxwell coach like I am. So
yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's move on from that. And good job. We're so happy that you're doing well.
Thank you.
So in your book, Relationship Roadmap, Real World Strategies for Building a Positive Collaborative Culture in Your Preschool, that's a mouthful, give many ways to improve your workplace culture. Can you list a few of your favorite?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if I would call it my favorite, but kind of like the most important. I think, as a leader in your preschool, whether you're the owner or the director or a lead teacher, you have some sort of leadership capacity in your school. And I think it is so important as a leader that you have, a growth mindset. And by that, I mean, you're always working on yourself. You're always learning, you're always growing, you're always working on developing into, the next level of consciousness or awareness or, building your principles, getting deeper connected to your core values, those types of things. You always need to be learning and growing as a leader. And then, in addition to that, lead your team with your vision and values. You need to be able to connect your team to a cause, to what you're working toward, to your vision. You have to bring that to life in, in your passion and in the way that you conduct business. Your people want to work for a cause rather than working to punch a clock or to pass the time. And when you're leading with your vision and values, you can always come back to those when you're making major decisions, like, hiring, firing, disciplining your team. You can make it less subjective rather than I don't think that you're doing a great job in your classroom because you seem lazy to me. You could really be like, we value X at our company. And, when this happened, I had a hard time seeing this value come through, and you can start a discussion about that. And so it brings it back to what you're working for as a team rather than what you personally liked or didn't like. So I think that leading with a vision and values is really, really important. And then creating systems and structure in your environment is super important as well, because it allows your team to know what is expected and to know how things should get done. It builds consistency and quality into the service that you provide, quality for the kids, and it contributes to your culture as well, because there are no questions. I remember one time I worked at Arby's, and that was a great place to work, but one of the managers that I had is like, one time I would fill an order and I would put a sandwich in a bag with fries, or a cold sandwich in a bag with fries. And she would yell at me that you can't put a cold item and a hot item in the same bag. You need to put them in 2 different bags. And then the next day I would put them in 2 different bags. And she's like, there's only two things going out. You don't need to be wasting bags by using 2 bags for, you know what I mean? And so there wasn't consistency, and I never knew which was the right way to do it. And so that led to it's just a simple thing like that can lead to a lot of bad feelings. So creating those systems and those processes so your team knows what to do is super, super important. And then I think the most probably impactful and important aspect of all of this, because everything I've set up until this point is to create a foundation for a great culture, but you need to be intentionally working on your culture with intentional actions and awareness. You're constantly gauging the vibe, or interacting with your team. You're building relationships. You're planning activities that are going to lead to team building and lead to fun and lead to showing appreciation and recognizing your team. All of those different types of things where you're intentionally trying to lift your team up and to make a happy workplace environment. I think those are some of the most important aspects of building a great culture in your preschool.
That is awesome. It's in today's hiring crisis, just call it what it is, workplace culture is so much more important than it was just 5-6 years ago, because keeping an employee is the same as gaining an employee. Keeping what you have is half the ball game now when it comes to your staff. If you could just keep what you have, then you could slowly maintain. But if you lose your valuable people, when you lose a really good employee, you got to hire 3 or 4 people to find one good one. Mm-hmm. And it's a time process. So if you just treat your people right from the beginning, you won't have that. I know owners that have just keeps letting go or firing or people leaving their company, and they wonder why they're struggling with workplace culture, because maybe the problem is the owner. Maybe you need to change your culture of why you have that revolving door. Um, what do you think about that? Do you think a lot of it starts with the owner?
Oh yeah, I think, and I learned this from Julie Barkis years ago. Every symptom, this is what she said, every symptom that you see in your team, it started because of you, something that you are modeling or tolerating. Something that you personally are modeling or tolerating, or it's a mindset that you're exuding. It's something it's coming from you. So you need to look at yourself and figure out, if my team is doing this, what am I doing that is contributing it or sending the message that this is okay? So I 100% agree with that. And also you're talking about the difficulty, to just replace that team member. It's also very costly. It costs anywhere between like $3,000 and $8,000 when you consider the training hours and the time that it takes to advertise and interview and train and get somebody up to speed. It also, it's kind of detrimental on the kids. We work in early childhood. We know that kids learn better and feel safest when they have a strong connection with their caregivers. And when those caregivers are always changing, the children are less at ease, which can increase behavior problems, which can contribute to, staff happiness. It's just this revolving circle. So whatever you can do to help your culture as far as the adults go and keep your team longer is, ultimately good for your program and for the children and families you serve.
Right. And sometimes it's not even you, it can be your director. I mean, we had a director that when we were there, things were perfect. And then later we found out all the stuff that happened when we weren't there. So the one-on-ones, I think, are very important. One-on-ones with your staff, and you can find out things before they become a problem.
Yep. Absolutely.
Interesting. Well, thanks, Cindy, for that. That's good workplace culture stuff. And for anybody who wants to get your book, you can get it on Amazon.
Yep. Just search for it on Amazon, Relationship Roadmap.
Yeah, great book. Highly recommended. We love that. And so we love having you on, but I want to allude to something else. We were talking a couple weeks ago, and I just happened to call to catch up with you. And we were talking on the phone, and you were asking me about Childcare Genius and my vision and what we were looking for and what our core values were. And you were I think you were just kind of feeling me out for where what I was headed in. And we started talking, and kind of light bulb came on. I was like, oh my God, Cindy, we've worked together in the past, and we're great friends, and we are growing. We're probably one of the fastest growing coaching organizations in the world right now as far as childcare, for sure. And we could use some help. So pleased to announce now that you've accepted a position with Childcare Genius. You're now the Vice President of Operations and Marketing. Can you tell us why you wanted to come to work with us?
Well, gosh, Brian, I was so excited when we had that conversation, because, like I said, this past year has been a bit of an adjustment for me. And, I just felt like I had more to contribute. Like, even though my, work came to an end with Chris, it didn't mean I was done, and I really, really am excited about, being more involved with the industry. I had more to contribute. I miss making a difference, in a direct way every day. I was also a childcare business owner, and I know what a difference it can make to help and support childcare business owners, to give them the tools and the resources and the strategies that can really help them to create amazing childcare businesses, amazing, secure, steady childcare businesses. And I know also that, what I do to help them trickles down. It doesn't stop with just the business owner, because what the business owner does in their center, has this ripple effect in, you know, to the children's lives, to their families, so their families can work and make a difference in the ways that they do, whether they're, you know, doctors or sandwich makers or whatever, and their staff. So like there's so many different ways that I can make a difference and touch lives by supporting childcare business owners in particular. And also, I mean, to work with such a great friend. And, you know, as you said, we've been friends for years and years, and we've all, you know, we've worked together in the past. So it's not like super scary to me. Like, I know what a working relationship with you is like. And so when you started this mission, and when you talked to me about it, it just like clicked. It was like, yes, this is where I was supposed to be all along. You know what I mean? And I feel like every time I take a new step in my career or make a change, it's like I can see how things that happened previously in my life, it was like a classroom experience. It was preparing me for this next step. And I feel like that's what happened here.
Sindye, we are so elated to have you. You're one of the most loyal employees I've ever met. You were the one who drank the Kool-Aid more than anybody I've ever known. You know, the last company we worked for, you were the 100% all in, loved what you did, loved your boss, loved everything. You never heard a negative about anything you ever did. You were one of the best employees I think I've ever seen in any company ever. So when, Carol and I were praying for the direction we wanted to go with the company, and we had a call scheduled, so I just wanted to catch up with you. I was like, everything just clicked. I said, you know what? Because we have with me having health issues and you having health issues, I'm like, what legacy can I leave? I could hit by a bus tomorrow, plane could fall sky and land on me, or I could go into a whitewater rafting accident and not make out of it. Things can happen. I want to be able to make sure that what I've done on this planet continues to have an impact in the industry long after I'm gone. And I think you have that same philosophy that, we're making a difference now. And whatever time we have left, whether it be 50 years or 50 days, we're going to go out all in and make sure that there are people out there that we can help have better lives and have it easier than we did in the childcare industry. We had it tough. We had to do it without help because we didn't know there was help available in the early days. Is that how you feel, similar along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been about wanting to make a difference. And, like I told you about when I went and got my real job, when my kids first, were all in school. And I didn't feel like I was making a difference. And that was the biggest reason why, I decided to make childcare my career. Now I've shifted, from being the direct caregiver to then, running a center and being the owner operator, the director, and then, working behind the scenes as far as, marketing and coaching and training and those types of things. So I've shifted what I've done, but it's still all impacting children somehow. And to me, I mean, that's kind of my why. I want to make the world a better place for children. I want to equip them to be the best humans that they can be. And so what I do, it trickles down. And I am just so excited to make a difference in helping people the way that I know how to help them.
Well, I know you're going to make a big difference, and we really appreciate you, and we're excited, and more to come.
Yes, I'm excited to get started.
In the middle of February is when you're starting. By the time this airs, you'll be in your role and out there making a difference in our community for sure.
Yeah.
All right, we have one final question for you.
So we have a mindset question for you. How do you keep a positive mindset when you're going through health problems?
Oh, goodness. Well, I think I try not to focus too much on myself. Sometimes, I mean, there are days, don't think I'm just like bubbly and, positive all the time. Sometimes there are days where I just need to like veg out and I do something and I've heard you say, Brian, 1,000 times, what you put in comes out, but sometimes I just need to like have a Netflix day and just do something that takes my brain away from thinking about the problem. It turns my brain off and I'm focusing on something else. But I quickly bounce out of that. When I have one of those days, just a little bit of time, just like purposefully taking my mind off of it, focusing on something else. and then jumping back into life. But above and beyond that, I think one of the ways or reasons that I have been able to have a positive mental attitude most of my life is things that my mom has drilled into my skull. I remember as a child, maybe second or third grade, being down in the dumps about something, or a friend didn't want to play with me, something silly. And she'd say, whenever you're feeling bad about yourself, go find something that you can do for somebody else. She just drilled that into me because it takes your mind off of your own problems and you feel good about something you're able to do to help somebody else. So I try to contribute, to other people in different ways, or, work on a project that I think might make a difference in other people's lives. And I stay busy with work. That can take my mind off of problems because, again, I know that I'm making a difference somehow. So I think those are the biggest ways, just to unplug for a little bit, to work on something that I know is going to make a difference or help people. And then the last thing is sometimes I just take, sometimes I veg out with something on TV, and sometimes it's like I need to purposefully be listening to something that either will increase my my mental state, like a podcast, but it's not always a positive mental attitude podcast. Sometimes it's like a give me ideas or set me into action type of podcast or webinar or training. It gives me ideas so I have something to work on that's not mopey, that's not, focusing on woe is me. It's like, oh, this is something I can create. So I think I'm a creative person. So I like to pour into projects or things that will help other people. I don't know. That's how I do it.
Good answer. Well, thank you for sharing. And thank you for joining our team. Thank you for the impact you've made in the industry. And we're going to be making a whole lot more impact in the future. So
yes, I'm excited. Thank you so much.
So for more information about Childcare Genius, just visit our website, childcaregenius.com. You can see Sindye's picture there and a little bit bio about her. And again, thank you for joining us on the Childcare Genius podcast today.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We are lucky to have her on our team.
Yes, we are. And our followers are lucky too. So Sindye's going to be doing a lot of trainings and courses on workplace culture, hiring, firing, and employee retention.
She will be coaching students in our Childcare Genius coaching program as well.
That's awesome. And we're so excited to have her on. She brings a wealth of knowledge. She was a childcare owner, center. She worked in a home daycare. She's written a great book on workplace culture. There's a lot of experience. People just love her. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for our students in our coaching program and everybody to get to know her. She's great. So if you need help in your childcare business and would like a free coaching call with me to help you in any area of your business that you're struggling in, visit our website at childcaregenius.com and under the coaching tab, select the free coaching call button. You're guaranteed to come away 2 or 3 items you can take action right away to help you and where you're struggling. So before we go, we're going to leave you with a few thoughts.
Do you still enjoy coming to work every day, or do you dread the ride to the center?
Do you feel like you're taking your business to the next level?
Email us at info@childcaregenius.com. We can help you.
So you might not want to get on a call, but might just have a question, something you think you need help on. Don't be afraid to email us. We respond to every single email, info@childcaregenius.com. We specialize in helping owners take their business to the next level. So this concludes episode 29 of the Childcare Genius podcast. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for spending a little bit of time with us.
Just a reminder to hit the subscribe button so you won't miss a future episode of the Childcare Genius podcast. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Childcare Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your childcare business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.